Dr. Stephen Hobbs here from the WELLth Movement. It's January the 3rd, 2021, and I'm going to be sharing with you my dreams and hopes and map for 2021. And through that, I'm going to invite you to get involved with what it is that I'm doing in whatever capacity that might be. And I will outline some opportunities for you as we move forward, but more so to encourage you to get more involved in 2021 and to create a story for yourself that will move through the years ahead. I have been working on many different things in my life. I've touched 6 of 7 continents. I've worked on those 6 of 7 continents. And I put a few miles under my soles and I've enjoyed myself tremendously. And now I find myself moving into the latter part of my 60s. And I'm trying to figure out, I think maybe more, I have figured out what it is that I want to engage with. And that's what I want to share with you today. So please subscribe, make sure you hit the bell so that you get notifications, because each Sunday around 9 a.m. I will be doing a broadcast. Now, some will be recorded and others will be live, and I'm not quite sure where I'll be doing them from, but today is a recorded version. It's here in the basement of where I'm staying in Alberta, Canada, in one of the towns. And I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. So ring that bell to make sure that you get notifications of the new videos. And also at any time, please comment and share and like what's happening here. I'd like to grow out my YouTube channel with your assistance and offer you great practices and concepts that you can put into play for yourself. So with that, let's get started. You'll notice the diagram that I have here. And this diagram will be one of the central diagrams that I'll be using as I share out the story of 2021. And with that, it's 4 circles that are interacting with each other. And this arrow that is pointing out, it's what I call the perspective arrow. And what it's going to do is sort of act as the pathway forward as we interact with one another. And I'll certainly be sharing with you different stories, different programs, projects, my writings, anything that is sort of unfolding for me that might be of value to you. And there'll be different places that you'll be able to pick it up. One will be my blog, which is at wellthmovement.com/wealth-blog. You'll notice it's just underneath the video here. And there are other digital marketing channels, and I'll explain more about those at the end of the video. But I think one of the things that I would really like to share at this point in time is what is the sort of key element here in the middle. And you'll notice I'm going to interact with you on the whiteboard here, but there is this area in the middle that is really, really important to all of what it is that we're doing. And that middle part is what I refer to as the wealth component. So that wealth component is what WELLth Movement is about. And to share with you, wealth is about well-being and well-living to the nth degree. And the well-being is for you as a person, and there are different elements of that I will share with you over time. And there's also the well-living, which is you interacting with others as others interact with you. The movement component that goes with the name wellthmovement.com is about the sense of the physical aspect of your life, but also what does it lead to? There are things that you can do for the world, to be for the world, and it's the movement that's available to you. And again, I'll be expanding on it as we move through on these Sunday broadcasts. And also you can go to Wealth Learning TV at YouTube, and you can catch lots of videos there as well. If you prefer to listen in, there will be short and long videos that'll be produced and uploaded there as well, which is where you will find this video. So with that, there are four main areas that I'm going to share with you, which is a culmination of years of interacting with different topics, doing different kinds of jobs. And I've come to a point where I'd like to settle in to an area and really explore how these four aspects or elements interact around this wealth movement story. What I'm going to do first is just indicate that who I'm interacting with, which is this idea of the grandparents and grandchildren. So it's the 55 plus year young people who are looking at that 60-year young door and hoping to go through it without kicking and screaming. And or they're curious about what that 60-year young door is about. I know I went through mine, a little quiet, I think, and then on the other side of it, I did a little kicking and screaming. And I can certainly share more of that personal story as we go forward. So now that we have a bit of an understanding of who I'm going to interact with, and I like this group. The reason being is I will not be a grandparent, and I never met my grandparents. So I'm going to be like an associate grandparent, working and interacting and playing with the grandchildren, and also parents and children, as well as provide activities, ideas that can help out with that learning for the young people, and also sharing the lived experience of those who are the elders. And one of the areas we're going to be working around is this whole area of trees. Trees are important because they're a living entities. They're a living component of our lives. And so often we pass by them without even acknowledge them. I, for one, I'm walking amongst them every day, if I can, at least every other day, and just acknowledging who they are and what they are contributing for the world. One of the things that I remember is that trees are rooted in the ground as much as they are in the sky. And there's going to be a lot more that we're going to unpack around trees. And you'll get a chance to explore different kinds of trees. I had the pleasure years ago of actually doing forestry. I became a forestry technician. I didn't actually get into the actual work of doing forestry. I went off in a bit of a tangent into what I call forest recreation, that then became outdoor recreation. But we'll be taking a look at trees, both in the metaphoric sense, the literal sense, and how they are important to us in our everyday life. So that will be one of the areas that we're going to explore. Another component that we're going to take a look at is legacy. Now, legacy is often looked at as something as we get closer to our older years. And I'm not great at using the word older. I prefer the word elder. So from a legacy point of view, as an elder, how might you contribute while you're living this idea of what you know, your lived experience, what you can do, your lived experience with others. And as grandparents with your grandchildren, then the notion of legacy becomes an important element. And if we can figure out how trees play into this, then that's an even richer and deeper experience that you can share, because interacting with trees with your grandchildren, they will actually educate you about the trees. And therefore, it's this wonderful relationship that will be born because of this interaction. And I'll be defining what legacy is. I've been working with this notion of legacy for quite a while. I'm writing books in the area. Again, I'll explain more about that as we move along. The other area that we're going to be taking a look at is what's called eco-creation. And this notion of creation is part of our lives on a day-to-day basis, where we're creating all the time. And eco-creation is to be mindful is that you can co-create, but eco-create from the sense of eco being home or planet, and being aware of what's happening around you and the connection between what trees are doing from an eco-creation perspective and how you as grandparents and grandchildren can eco-create, and how you can leave part of your legacy story as well. And I think this is a time just to share a little bit about myself. Here's one of many stories I can share at this point in time. I mentioned that I did forestry technology, went into outdoor recreation. I've had the pleasure of doing lots and lots of different kinds of jobs in the outdoors. But one of the things that always kept coming back to me was the story of trees and how important they are in terms of the breathing that we often take for granted. And this notion of the trees taking the carbon dioxide in and giving out the oxygen that we breathe, and we breathe out carbon dioxide, so that there's this really wonderful relationship that exists with them. And I noticed that there's a lot of times where young persons, grandchildren, and they can be young to teenagers, don't always appreciate what trees are about and how they fit into the world, not only just from a breathing point of view. And that was built out of years of running summer camps, running canoeing programs, and also doing development with corporations for teams, and interacting with the trees and getting people to be more aware of them. And I just came about really wanting to bring this story of grandparents and trees together. And I thought writing would be a great way to do that. And that's when I started talking to others, and they have coloring books that they want to create. They have short stories, they have fables. They're talking about sometimes the tree fairies and the tree elves. And it was just been a fascinating conversation with others. And I want to bring that out so that you can experience them as well. And the other thing from the legacy point is that I find myself, I mentioned already, in my late 60s. I'm looking at that 70s and the 80s, and I hope to be doing lots of really wonderful things. You'll hear about the equity funding work that I'm doing around the world, which will breathe a life into this whole story on an international basis. I'll leave that for another day. And so my legacy story is around bringing this all to life, the bringing it so that you might come to understand it and find ways to engage with it on your own, or engage with what I have unfolding myself. There are projects and programs that you can get involved with. And there's also products and processes that you can get involved with. I've written quite a few books over the years. There is facilitative mentoring services that I can offer, just as there are projects that are coming about that are local and international, and you may want to take a look at those. I have something going on in Africa that you might find interesting, and I'll be bringing it to life, and I'll be introducing you to the people who are involved with that, as well as programs. There's something called etchings in sand, and there are different kinds of sand. There's lake sand, river sand, and ocean sand. And it just depends where you want to play. It's a facilitative mentoring, mentor heart, think mastermind, but from the heart perspective, that will be available. And what we can do is work with you and interact with you and involve your grandchildren in that as well. There are times for yourself and there's times for the grandchildren. So there's lots of things that are unfolding here, and that's why I wanted to do this, is because it's part of my legacy story. And always, always, in all ways, eco-creation has been an element of my life. And I've actually created something called eco-ethical architecture, and I'll be unpacking that one as well. But it's been a way for me to think about how I approach my decision making. So there is ecological literacy, as there are ethical values, how they come together and form this architecture. And again, let's unpack that another time for you. The other thing is that this whole wealth element, the wealth movement, when I first started off, I called it Wealth Learning Network. And then I evolved that to Wealth Movement. Now, it was 1980 when I started down this path of understanding more from an entrepreneurial point of view. And then it was in the early 1990s when I actually incorporated the company and moved it forward. So I've had a rich, deep exposure to lots of concepts and practices that I want to share with you. But I'd also like to encourage you to understand is that this is not just about work, it's about being. And we'll unfold those aspects as well. I'm looking at just ways to be with you, encourage you to do some work that allows you to understand some of the concepts and practices here. There will be times when it will be recorded on Sunday and scheduled so you can come to it. That will be at 9 a.m. Mountain on Sundays. Some will be live. I'll do live. It just depends where I am. Sometimes my work takes me away from my home office, and I'm going to do what I can to see if I can't even be live while I'm traveling. And by traveling, I could be somewhere in the world. And it's just to give you an opportunity to pop in, listen in, and see what's available to you. Most of the shows will be anywhere between 25 and 30 minutes long. I'm not looking at doing long and involved videos or presentations, but there will be lots of other videos that you can watch on the YouTube channel. Again, that's Wealth Learning TV. And I do have different social media or digital marketing channels that you can go into. But I would also encourage you to go to wealthmovement.com, and there you would find the blog at wealth-blog and a list of different programs and projects and processes and products that you can sort of engage with. Some of them are free, some of them are challenges so that they're free, others are paid for. But again, see what you'd like to get involved with. And I would encourage you to do so. And I always appreciate comments. There's an opportunity to use the contact form. You can send me a message directly, or you can connect through the social media channels, and they'll be listed at the end of this video. And let's see what happens. I'm just going to keep exploring this. This is my start of just being for the world. And with that, take care, have a tremendous week, and see how you might be able to explore your wealth movement. Take care.